Hey, it's Vanessa, and welcome to a new conversation on energy. This one is going to be about reclaiming your voice, and I'm going to do it through the lens of the rebrand that you see happening right now on this podcast, which is going from Check the Energy, as you formerly knew it, to Born to Build the New. So I'll be sharing with you what that evolution looked like, what transpired, and how making that shift in a simple name change was really more of an identity shift, and how that shaped my ability to reclaim my voice and what it was that I really wanted to say and also to share in the world. In this episode, you'll also get some top questions to sit with for reclaiming your own voice. You may also be going through a transition period where your voice has been refining or evolving, or you're awakening more to the messenger within you that wants to speak more and share more and be a part of a larger conversation. So you'll have some guiding questions that I'll share with you within this episode, as well as one of the key pieces that I have found to really lock in your identity when it comes to this larger paradigm shift that we're living in right now, and where your identity is one of those key roles that you need to be very consciously connected with in order to best play your part in this larger collective paradigm shift that's going on right now. So we're covering a lot, and I'm really looking forward to getting into this conversation with you. And as you know, I'm Vanessa Smith, your host, energy guide, and real creative human behind this podcast. And let's just jump in with talking about the shift between Check the Energy and Born to Build the New. Now, before I get into the contrast for both of those, I need to tell you about the origin story of Check the Energy. This phrase came to me through a mentor of mine over 20 years ago when I was in a state of, I don't know if I'd say extreme sensitivity, but definitely feeling way more overloaded with energy and not really knowing how to navigate my way through being so sensitive to other people, sensitive to environments, and just feeling quite drained, to be honest. And my mentor at the time, who was helping me I want to say not just use my intuition, but trust my intuition. My intuition has always been very strong, very specific, very on point, but I felt really challenged with trusting myself and trusting what my intuition was telling me. And though I have had absolutely more than a handful of experiences for evidence of why to trust it and also what happens when I don't. And so this phrase, check the energy, came through her when I was struggling in a moment where I was completely overloaded with energy and so drained by the different interactions that I was having, and I didn't know what to do about it. I didn't know how to make sense of the situation or put boundaries in place around it. And she said, Vanessa, just check the energy. And it was a phrase that she would use over and over again, because as I did that, there was something in me that somehow, when I heard that phrase, I could completely override my doubt, my lack of trust, my insecurity, my, low self-confidence at that time. All of that emotional and energetic chaos subsided when I heard the phrase, check the energy. Because one of the ways that I am innately wired is to be able to check the energy, to be able to read energy. I see energy, I hear energy, I know the underlying energetic dynamics at play. I've been, working in a very practical way around assessing what's going on energetically and reflecting that or translating that back into the world in a way that makes sense to people, in a way that they can see themselves and their reality much more clearly. And there's something, there's something that drops into my system that is, it's not just a clarifier, it's like a cleanser. Something completely cleans my system out in the best way, like cleans out any of the toxic junk, whether it's mental thoughts or, emotional chaos or whatever it is. As soon as I hear check the energy and as soon as I begin checking the energy. So the phrase was this very stabilizing force for me, this reference point, because I became someone different when I checked the energy. That's not totally accurate. What's accurate is I became a more refined version of myself when I checked the energy. It's like my potential became more embodied. Like this future version that I strive to be somehow became me. When I was in sessions with the clients checking the energy, when I was talking about checking the energy, when I was just checking the energy for myself out in the world, I was able to experience myself, my identity differently. And I liked that version of me because she was clear, she was confident, she was grounded, she was all the things that I wanted to be but couldn't figure out how to do when I was not checking the energy. And so the phrase has always been very important to me as soon as it entered into my reality. It's been this pillar for me that I very much have hung on to and also built my work around. And I do still feel attached to it. I don't necessarily want to let it go completely, yet I have been feeling this tug in a different direction. And I didn't want to toss this podcast away, the Check the Energy podcast, and just start something new. I wanted to build the next layer of it. But it took me a while to really discern what that would look like for me, to really explore what that would look like for me. And that is actually one of multiple reasons why there hasn't been weekly podcasts, is because I was just like, okay, how am I going to do all of this? What is this evolution? There are these times when we're so hungry for what's new and what's next, but it's not time yet. The bread is still baking. We can't take the baby out of the oven or out of the belly before it has gone through its own development process. And this last year for me, when I was not publishing podcasts, but still decided to keep this Check the Energy podcast open, was so deeply transformational. And I don't mean in a, happy, joy kind of way. I mean in a deep, excavating, really intense grief journey that did not seem to have an end point to it. Like, we're talking, on the struggle bus in many different ways, like very uncomfortably human. And and so it was in that process that the clarity came. And it's a process that many of us shy away from. We don't want to go to the depths of what is the hard stuff in our lives. And yet, sometimes that's where life brings us. And if we have the capacity to be with ourselves and to be with the moment, that strengthens something within us that's so core that clarity is inevitable. It's an inevitable outcome, but it does require patience, and it does require trust, and it does also require checking the energy. So you can really know, like, is this time for me to move, to connect, to create? Or is it time for me to be still? And so I was sitting very deeply with all of these questions and letting them show the answers to me, and really like grasping, do I let check the energy go? What do I do? This is a message that I feel passionate about, and I do want it out to the larger collective, to the larger mainstream. I look at all of these different pieces that are happening in the world from a more mainstream collective unfolding, and I keep thinking, oh my goodness, like, please, people, check the energy here before you believe what is being presented to you as truth. And and check the energy within yourself, please, before you believe what you say to yourself is true. So the power of the phrase hasn't lost its impact for me, but it was just time to work with it in a different kind of way. And as I got deeper into talking about energy in general, I started to explore these different avenues of talking about energy, whether it was monthly collective energy reads on YouTube, or it was checking out the astrology lens, which is an energetic framework of understanding reality through the patternings in the sky. And I felt like I lost my compass a bit. The umbrella of energy became too wide for me. And so that feeling of things not being quite aligned, but not sure how to reframe or rebrand or put it all back together again, was really challenging for me as a messenger. I don't necessarily claim that title in the way I describe myself on a short little bio or the perfect little LinkedIn description, but it is very much who I am. I know that I'm here to use my voice and the messages that are coming through, what I feel passionate about. That's something so, just part of every cell of my being. And so when it comes to reclaiming your voice, which is really what this episode is about at its heart, is you need to almost think of your voice as its own person, its own sense of identity, its own musings and creativity and calling. And I had to take a moment to separate my voice out from me as the human being who was struggling, throughout the last year or in different times in my life. Because if you have the urge to speak and you know that you're a messenger, but you can't quite land on a message, it's so challenging. It's so frustrating because that urge to share is there. And one of the last things you want to do as a messenger is speak generically, right? Like say these very generic types of phrases or say things that don't have grounding to them or not feel like yourself when you're speaking. It creates discord in your own system. And so I had to let it be okay that my human self just needed to take a little break and think of my voice as it's just taking a vacation right now. Like we're just having a little bit of a retreat and it's going through its own transformation and refinement. And I don't have to necessarily link it or the messages that want to come through with all the challenges that I'm facing in my life right now. And when I gave it the grace and space to kind of be its own identity and then let my, fish out of water flopping around feeling uncomfortably human self go through that process, there was a relief, there was less pressure, and eventually there was clarity. And the two aspects of my being, the struggle and the voice, came back into relationship with each other. It's so interesting to me because we've been oversaturated with social media and this idea that we're meant to be sharing all aspects of our lives. And I don't know how healthy that is, but I really question what that does to our energy, what that does to our vitality. Like, not everything is meant to be shared. And there are moments when it is important to let your voice have a rest and let it have its space to develop on its own and see what wants to be said after you've gone through the process, after you've gone through the recalibration. And so that's a big part of what this time has been for me, is to reclaim my voice, but not from this positioning of bravado or, performative leadership or superhero, I'm coming in to reclaim my voice. Our ego can get so wrapped up in it, but instead, from this very humble and grounded place of just being a human being that is going through some things and our voice needs a rest. That's been the most powerful and empowering reclaiming that I could have done, to release the pressure and let there be space to breathe. So if you are going through a recalibration yourself around your identity, around being a messenger, around your role in this paradigm shift, if you feel a call to speak, if you have your own podcast or you want to be a guest on podcasts, if you're a visionary builder and you have a vision that you are seated with that you want to build, it's okay to take a break. It's okay to have space and spaciousness around your next steps. And if you could grant yourself that, that's where checking the energy of when it's time to enter back into the game, when it's time to use your voice again, is true, is aligned, is really truly the right time for you to do that. And I was able to have that discernment and have that clarity because I allowed the space for it. So this is your friendly spiritual reminder that if that's the space that you've been in and you're feeling a call to come back into the realm of knowing your voice and sharing your voice, follow that call and trust what your voice wants to speak. But if you're feeling a lot of pressure around that and your messaging or whatever it is that you want to say is feeling very fragmented, then give it some grace and space. See your voice as an aspect of yourself, a different version of yourself that might just need a little vacation for a while. Or maybe it needs a sit down with you and wherever you're at in your life. So the two parts of you, your voice and where you're at as a human being, can reconcile so you know how to move forward, right? That's up to you to check the energy of what's going on with you, your voice, and why you feel called to either step away or reclaim it right now. Now, that's a bit about reclaiming your voice and check the energy and where that came from. I'd love to share with you where Born to Build the New steps into the picture, because this for me was the epitome of voice reclamation. This was the entry point for me to integrate back together where I had been through my own journey and what my voice wanted to say now. And Born to Build the New is a phrase that I have been using for the past several years. I've used it throughout offerings and my website and on social media, but I didn't lead with it. It wasn't the driving factor. What I was building my brand around was checking the energy. And I realized that checking the energy doesn't necessarily drive to anything beyond checking the energy. It's like sometimes you can check the energy and then you're like, okay, cool. I know what the energy is. I now know the energy. I have checked it. Now what do I do? What are the next steps after I've checked the energy? And I so feel called to drive the direction of the energy. And this would come up for me time and again with all of my marketing, all of my clients, it's like, what are you going to do with your gifts? How are you going to use your gifts to build the new? How are you going to align your purpose with the paradigm shift? Like, what are you going to do to direct the energy? And so check the energy could only take people so far. It was tailored to people who are energy sensitive, energy curious, energy aware, but it's not necessarily talking to the people who are actually my people, which are the visionary builders. They may be energetically sensitive, but their bottom line is, I am here to build something. And the truth is, I am here to build something. We draw in our mirror matches. I'm also obviously very energetically sensitive, as are the visionary builders that enter into my world. And they do need to know how to check the energy, but it's so they can then build the new. It's then they can apply that energetic knowing and that energetic wisdom to what it is that they're here to contribute to the paradigm shift. Because if you're sensitive to energy and you're feeling knocked all over the place and you don't know how to check it, you don't know how to discern, you don't know how to work with it, you're not going to be able to build the new. You're going to get tripped up all the time. And so both of them need to be part of this overall podcast, this overall, group that I'm here to be a part of and to serve, is these visionary builders, the ones that are here to build a new paradigm. And they do need to know how to check the energy, but they also need to have their identity and their alignment dialed in. And that is what Born to Build the New is actually about. It is the combination of energy, identity, and alignment. This is knowing who you are, knowing what you're here to do, and having your energetic knowing dialed in so you can actually build the new. I feel so driven to create a new paradigm, to live by a new paradigm within my own personal life, and also to contribute to that out in the world. I mean, visions just drop into my mind. I can't even tell you how often. It's just like, I think I'm going to do a whole episode on just all of the visions that pop in, because I literally have a big long list that, and they would all fit under this umbrella of new paradigm, like a, what that would look like. And I love to be around those people. I love to be around the visionaries, but the ones that are actually building, right? I've met a number of visionaries, and I have been that visionary where it's like you got the vision, but then you don't do anything with it. And man, that is frustrating. That's not the kind of energy I want to be in or be around. I'm about the build, like what needs to happen so we can actually build this thing together. So, Born to Build the New is a representation of that. It really is about not just the energy, identity, and alignment, but the inner and the outer journey of what we go through as we build the new, and that we are born to do it. This is in our design charts. You check your astrology, your human design, your gene keys. It outlines specifically how you are designed to build the new. So this is something that I always noticed when I was doing energetic readings or intuitive sessions with people, is when I would look through that lens, I could see their purpose work, their new paradigm contribution, what it is that they're here to build. And so when I discovered human design, astrology, and the gene keys, and it gave a different kind of framework and language to this larger purpose work path, then, I mean, it was just, there are no words. I really, really love these different design frameworks. I love that there were systems that validated what I saw energetically. And this is the kind of energy that I want to support in the world. And the journey needs to be named. What it is that we go through as new paradigm builders, because it's a different kind of life experience than others that are still, hanging out in the old paradigm, or others that are just already existing in the new paradigm. Like, we are here to bridge between the two. And there's unique aspects of that journey that are important to illuminate and to unpack. Because when you hear and see yourself in the journey, it releases any of the pressure or overwhelm or lack of grounding or whatever it is that can block your build. And I want you to unblock your build, because I'm invested in you being able to build what you are here for. Whatever that vision is that's coming through you, because that's what you were born to do. And that is what Born to Build the New is about. It absolutely still includes energy, but now it also brings in identity and alignment, and how we can align your purpose work with the paradigm shift, talking about that journey and exploring what it looks like for you. So before I sign off for this episode, I wanted to share with you a couple of the questions that I sat with as I was refining and reclaiming my voice. One of them is, who am I talking to? And I shared a story around that. The next one is, what do I really want to say? And the third is, what is my role here as a messenger? What am I looking to evoke in others as a messenger? So, sitting with those questions helped to refine what it is that I wanted to share with you in this rebranded podcast from Check the Energy to Born to Build the New. And the identity shift question that was also really, really helpful that I want to offer up before we close out is, how do I want to do this? How do I want to do this? And it seems like a really obvious question to ask yourself, but so often we overlook it. We think that we need to follow somebody else's template. We get these promises of, if we just post every day on social media, then we'll be able to, make our 5-6 figures a month, or like, who cares? What's your way? What fulfills you? How do you want to do it? What's your natural rhythm? How do I want to do this? It's your life. This is your build. This is your purpose work. How do you want to build the new? And that is what we're going to explore, and so much more on this podcast as we move forward. Check the Energy may show up again in some form or fashion. I'll know when the time is right to bring that forward, because as you well know now, I'm definitely still passionate about that as a concept. And if you want to learn more about being born to build the new and energy, identity, and alignment, simply go to my site, vasmith.com/build. And you'll find all you need to know there to get started. Thanks so much for listening. Take good care, and I will see you in the next conversation.